Welcome to the SIS-STORY series where real women share their stories and they're making SIS-STORY in real time, one chapter at a time. I am your host, Ebony Tate, creator of mental health brand Mastering Me and women's community, Sis Suffering in Silence. Please follow me on both social media platforms under Instagram. The first one is at Mastering Me Brand, and the other one is SIS_royalty. Um, Today's special guest is an entrepreneur. She's a wife. She's a mom, a community organizer. She's a healthcare leader, a creative, a wellness, mental health, community mental, oh, and a community advocate, a podcaster, and mentor. Please show your love for Mrs. Hazel Brown. Hi, Hazel.
Hi, Ebony. How are you? So excited to be here.
I'm doing well in yourself.
I'm good. I'm good.
Before we begin, please let people know who you are, how people can follow you, and watch your content and get all the services that you provide.
Yeah, I love it. Just kind of listening you list off all the things that I partake in. I think it's so interesting sometimes. I definitely have been in a place of reflection as it relates to just my ability to balance my career, business, my children, my husband, and more so lately myself. And so when I think about just who I am, I'm really just someone who is relentless, someone who's bold, someone who knows I was chosen to be here, and someone who refuses to do anything else other than take up space. And so, in terms of where people can find me, they can find me online on Instagram at It's Human AF. They can absolutely follow me there. I do empowerment, wellness, health and wealth events, if you will, all over. That's where we met, right? At a empowerment brunchish kind of thing that I did in DC a few years back. And so for me, it's all about making sure we're creating spaces to where we're not just taking the edge off, but we're living boldly and we're stepping into our calling in knowing that God has us in everything that we do. That's pretty much me.
Absolutely, and I appreciate you. Like, you really was the one of the first people to put the battery in my back to continue the community things that I have going on, and you do it so effortlessly. Like, it looks so easy when I saw you do it, and the dinner, I will never forget the dinner. I met some people that I'm still good with now. The networking event really helped out. The journal prompts were definitely, hitting hard. It hit home a lot. So I will never forget that dinner.
I love that. I love that. It's so funny because maybe like a year afterwards, when I was moving from Vegas to Atlanta, so maybe 2 years after, my husband found it and he like sat me down. He's like, let's answer these questions together. And I'm like, boy, this is not for you. But I answered it with him and it was just so nice to kind of hear his perspective. And so I think that, to your point about journaling and just having conversations with people you care about is so important so we could dig deep and also so that we can reflect on what's important to us as we navigate our next chapters or seasons.
Yes, absolutely. All of those things are important. And networking when it comes to community, like you never know who you'll meet, who will inspire you, to think of things that you may have put in the back of your mind. You really just never know who you'll meet.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They say, sometimes you're one person away from really just being able to change your life, both on your outlook in terms of the steps and direction you're able to take. And in the same way, the people that we keep in our lives and the way that we are closed off to different things sometimes keeps us stuck in terms of where we are, in terms of why we're not where we're supposed to be.
Yeah, that's very true. My first question is, what inspired you to become an entrepreneur, community organizer, and advocate for mental health and wellness?
Yeah, I would say that I didn't share that in my intro, but I was born in Jamaica. I came here when I was 5 going on 6. And so my mom has 7 kids. I was number 5, the last one really born in Jamaica, first one to really truly be raised here in terms of elementary school all the way up. And so within that, I've always been the kind of person that I wanted more. I knew that I was put here for a reason. My mom would always tell me I was special in terms of how I move in life in general. And so for me, once I started following societal goals as it relates to getting degrees, getting titles, and things to that effect. I just felt like there was more. And separate from feeling like there was more, I would have people ask me, like, Hazel, how are you able to get these jobs? How are you just like so? This is going to happen. Like, why are you so bold? And so I started recognizing that that was something that people needed support in terms of how to find the right jobs, how to be able to leverage their degrees, how to take up space and not choose to lose their voice. And so initially it started off as me just being a career coach because I was working in HR, went on to work in leadership roles to where I was hiring. And I saw that people lacked interview skills. I saw that they didn't know how to position their resumes. They didn't know how to advocate for themselves as it relates to pay equity. And so that, to your point about battery in the back, that put the battery in the back for me because I was like, why are people going to schools and getting these degrees and they're not getting paid what they deserve? Why are they coming into these roles and saying, okay, I'm okay with $12, but then when they get on the floor, they're upset. And that being upset provides impact on their mental health and their livelihood. So when I put everything together, it just made sense in terms of creating a space so where we are talking about mental wellness, we're talking about health, we're talking about wealth, because our decisions in terms of how we show up for our lives, creating the careers for ourselves, all of it impacts our mental health. If I take a position where I'm not being paid fairly because I didn't do the research and I didn't do ask for what I was worth, now I'm going home and I'm going to have to figure out how to rob Peter to pay Paul. That creates stress. I'm unhappy in my life and how I communicate with my family members, my husband, and my children because I feel depleted for the money that I'm making. And so it impacts everything we do when we start off by making one wrong decision in terms of what we do in our day to day life. So that was it for me. And then I started doing like smaller events as it relates to like pain and sips, brunches, vision board events. And I felt like the things that I was doing was really to help people cope, if you will, take the edge off. And then when my mom passed in 2022, I just felt like we're not doing that anymore. We're not taking the edge off. We're going to live boldly in everything we do. We're not doing something to be able to cope with life. We're going to actually live our life and enjoy it every day because we're choosing to live in our purpose. So that's really just kind of the evolution of entrepreneurship for me. And I just try to make sure that anything that I do in my career or in my entrepreneurial journey, just the way that I show up in life, it's not something to where I have to wear a mask. I don't have to be one person in one place and one person in another place. I'm me everywhere I go.
Absolutely. And my condolences to you regarding your mom.
I appreciate it.
No problem. How do you protect your mental and emotional wellness while balancing all the hats that you wear?
Yeah, I think over time I've recognized that I can't be 100% on here while still being able to focus on something else that I have going on. So wherever I am and whatever I'm doing, I show up in that at 100%. And when I'm done with it, that goes to zero. You know, sometimes you may have a little 10% lingering thoughts in your head in terms of, oh, I forgot to do this. Oh, I need to do that tomorrow. But for the most part, I try to be as present as I can where I'm at, because if I don't give whatever is in front of me all of my attention, I won't be able to do it in the capacity that I can because of the fact that I'm focused on this, that, and the third. And so as a result, I just decide to focus on what's in front of me in order for me to be able to focus on what's in front of me. And so, you know, short term, I'm looking at what's right here for me to do today within this hour. And if I do that well, long term, it's going to impact my ability to be able to do whatever I need to do tomorrow, next month, next year. And so I've just kind of recognized that I can't wear them all at the same time. I could do anything I want, but I can't do everything at the same time. And so that allowed me to be able to your point earlier, give myself grace and recognize that I'm human and I can absolutely do it. And also I allow myself to change my mind. If I say yes about something today and tomorrow I feel like it doesn't serve me, I don't care what someone else says. I don't care what they think. What I care about is what my discernment says, what my well being is going to be like, how it's going to impact me. And so those are the decisions that kind of help me be able to navigate how I move forward in the things that I do and how I move forward. And when you're honoring your true self, I think that allows you to be able to navigate all the things. I think that to the point of all of the hats and the things that I wear or do, everything is aligned to who I am in some way, shape, or fashion, right? And so nothing that I'm doing is outside of my purpose. When I think about me as a young child, I put on talent shows for my mom as a little girl. I would create restaurants by my mom coming here from another country, having 7 children to raise as a single woman. She didn't have it. So she's working 2 jobs, coming home. I'm helping to raise my younger brother and sister at home by myself at like 5, 6, 7, 8. Once I got here from Jamaica. And so when she would come home, she'd be upset. She'd be stressed out like a typical parent who's running a single home, right? And so I would probably about 8, 9 or so, I would think to myself, oh my God, what can I do? How can I make her happy? And on the weekend, I'm putting on a talent show from her with my younger brother and sister. As I got older, I think I was 11, I threw her first birthday party. At 11-year-old, ordering chairs, having the lady down the street cook food, and really throwing her first birthday party at 11. So I threw my older sister her first birthday party when she was 28. She's 11 years older than me, so I was 17. So it's always been me. So everything that I'm doing is just an evolution of my gifts. And then as it relates to my career, I almost passed away with all 3 of my children. So their birth weight combined is less than 10 pounds. And so now they're turning 14 this summer, turning 19 in November. And when I think about that, that is what drove my love for healthcare, because I want to make sure that we have the equity that we need in healthcare. So the reason I went on to explain that is I think a lot of people work in lanes they have no business being in because it looks trendy. So when you see someone who's able to like navigate this and navigate that, it's easier to them. It's hard in all of the same because everybody got to put in the same work. But from a spirit perspective, it's not as hard because it's aligned to their calling. And so I wanted to explain that fully because I think that that's where we get frustrated in doing things. And it seems so hard because I've definitely used gifts that were not mine. And it was hard to stand up. It was hard to keep going because it was not mine to carry. And so we just have to know what's within our lane, what's ours to carry, and what things actually fulfill our spirit and our calling so that we can navigate it easier.
Absolutely. I do agree with you, especially like when it comes to listening to your body. You know, you're only one person and you can only do what you can, and I think that's very healthy and very wise as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
In all the spaces that you show up in, what moments bring you the greatest sense of joy and fulfillment?
Yeah, I definitely feel like being a mom is definitely where I feel like brings me the most fulfillment because they didn't ask to be here. And just being very transparent, I never wanted to have kids. It was never something I dreamed of. I never wanted to be married. None of these things are things that were ever on my bucket list to check off. In fact, I would tell my mom, I don't want to have kids. Like, I don't want to do this, right? And so for me, when you kind of see something, it's kind of like when you create a business or a goal or anything else. But essentially, you come up with this idea, and clearly, I didn't want to have kids, so I didn't come up with this idea, but that's a whole nother story. We're not going to get into how that happened. We're adults here. We all know how that happened. But from there, you're able to really like pour into someone and be able to see how they're able to grow with your mentorship, with your guidance, with your support. And I think for me, just really seeing them grow, thrive, and become like their best versions of themselves, like that has absolutely been fulfilling. And then separate from that, within like the communities that I create, is that same kind of impact, being able to see people want to do a thing, know that they can, but then being able to see the representation of what it looks like to not move outside of who they are in terms of their authenticity, but still be able to grow, thrive, and become like those things really inspire me to keep going. Just when I hear people tell me like the impact it's made, I'm an affirmations person. So I'm really big on like, oh, okay, so that did something. Okay, God, I'll keep going. I'll keep going, God. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, affirmations are super important. You never know how those affirmations can help you, be intentional about your day and just be happy throughout the day, be in the best of spirits. So I definitely agree with you on that. And Mother's Day has passed, but happy belated Mother's Day. What qualities or characteristic traits do you believe your children inherited from you?
Yeah, so I think it's different from child to child. We're gonna
Okay.
be clear about that. I think their honesty, though, is something that I see that they all have from the perspective of being authentic, right? In terms of like they just show up as themselves. They're not trying to put on for anyone. My twins are in band and dance. And I see my son, and sometimes he comes in and he tells me he's a YN, but he doesn't show up like that in real life. Just at home, right? He's a YN at home. But that's so funny to me. But I shared that to say is that for me, it's very important to be able to see people go into different environments and nothing that is going on around them makes them change who they are. And so to me, that's the biggest thing that I feel like that they take from me is that I can go anywhere. I've lived in all sorts of places. I like to move around, and it's important to not lose who you are at heart no matter what's going on. And the reason why I share that characteristic is because sometimes we have highs, we have lows, we have average blah moments, right? And as humans, we have to learn how to not change who we know we're called to be simply because of the season that we're in. And so I love that about them in terms of like they're being resilient despite what's going on and still showing up as themselves. So I would say that that's the biggest characteristics they got for me. Yeah, I would say that's pretty much it because they all are so different when it comes to so many other things. Like with my younger daughter, I'm trying to teach her not to be nice so much because she's very nice. She's almost entirely too nice, right? She can be a little mean with me, right? But sometimes I'm like, girl, you better toughen up and don't let these people play with you or think whatever. And then my older daughter, she's too mean. It's like, girl, you need to be nicer, like calm down. Like you can't catch bees with, you know what I mean? And so we're having those conversations. And my son, he's kind of in the middle. And so I have to help him learn how to be a little bit more present in some moments while at the same time, just kind of showing up and knowing when to fall back because you're doing too much also. So they're all so different. What I will say is that anytime there's a bad quality, I blame it on my husband. And when it's really good, yeah, I did that.
No, I definitely understand that. And it's good that you have a variety of things, different things that you love about them, and so many things that they inherited from you. And it's good that they are authentic in their skin and they stand out and they understand the assignment when it comes to that. Like a lot of people don't stand out. Some people just rather blend in because it would give them, too much attention or whatever the case is. But it seems like your children never run from it. They know who they are, and
Yeah.
that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, they're definitely, and I think more so with the twins, with my oldest, weirdly enough, I think she's working on that more than they are in the sense that she's not necessarily thrive when it comes to confidence, which has always been very difficult for me because I just think I belong no matter where I'm at. And so just kind of seeing her kind of be shy or kind of fall back and not want to be as bright, the bright light in the room, if you will, in terms of taking up space. And that's something that I've definitely been working on with her since she was a kid. I used to have her in like confidence camps and all the things. So she continues to be herself, but I continue to tell her to show up as main character you, not as reserved you or shy you, or maybe I don't belong you. So we're still working in that regard. And just for authenticity purposes, I was like, let me just make sure that I'm clear that as it relates to, just showing up boldly, we're still working on that in that area, but she still makes sure she shows up as herself.
Yeah, and that's a good thing, as long as you're working on it, that's the best thing. Like, don't stop, don't give up, just every step is a step in the right direction.
Absolutely.
What are some of the biggest lessons your children taught you?
Yeah, I would have to go back to my oldest, right? I feel like she has taught me the most lessons as it relates to not everyone like realizes their light. Not everyone realizes their gifts. And so I've had to recognize to slow down. And I think that's helped me in my coaching, in my career, in my business, is realizing that sometimes you think, I'm always like, God, send me people when they're ready to go to altar. I'll take them to the altar, I'll baptize them, I'll have them ready for you, kind of thing. And I've learned with her and just in general and different people that I work with, but specifically from her, she's taught me that, hey, sometimes they're not going to be on their way to the altar. They may have had a thought a couple weeks ago that they want to come, and you're going to have to learn how to meet people where they are. You're not going to always get people that are ready to go to the altar. And so she's definitely taught me that, to be more patient and to realize that, support looks different for everyone. And so you can't think that your job is simply to take someone to this place. Sometimes your job is to sit with someone, really kind of hear what's going on with them to be able to take them to that place. So she's helped me with patience because, yeah, I don't have a lot of it. And I've had to learn how to get a lot of it because she's so awesome. And so I recognize that, sometimes it can't be fast. Sometimes it has to be that you're really sitting and helping someone to see their light. And so that's been different. Not work that I necessarily feel like I was called to do, but I'm her mom, so I guess I was called to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Impatience could be, it's a big thing, especially when it comes to, raising children or, just trying to, set the example for people. It does take a lot of time and patience because everybody's timing is different, everybody's path is different, everybody's tolerance is different for certain things. So it's a good thing that, you're pretty much self-aware of those things.
Yeah, definitely working on it because to that end, it's like she's such a good girl. She's turning 19 in November, and she is so respectable. She's so caring. She's so proactive in thinking about things that are happening and how she can be supportive. And so I think sometimes I have to recognize, like, hey, like these are all great qualities that's going on. So these are we all have weaknesses. We all have area of opportunity. And so these are the areas that you're working to support. And I think sometimes God puts things in place to challenge our gifts, right? Like I'm out here empowering people all day long to go ahead and believe in yourself, do this, do that. And then with my own daughter, sometimes I have to make sure that I'm sitting down and really trying to not just put the battery in her back, but back in the day we used to put it in a freezer so that it could we gotta do things to make sure, like, girl, keep this battery in your back. What you doing? And so that's helpful for me because I think sometimes we think that, oh my goodness, like we're so good at this thing, but are you? Right. And so with that, it's really helped me to get better when it comes to the patients and really help to make sure that, to your point about like what really makes me excited is seeing someone grow and thrive. It challenges me to make sure I'm able to sit down and make sure that things are in a way that really helps her grow and thrive long term.
Oh, that's amazing. That is so beautiful. Um, how would you describe this current chapter of your sis story?
Yeah, I would say this current chapter has been very interesting from the perspective of really reflecting on how far I've come. I think that that's something that has been really interesting. Really, recently in my 9 to 5, I had to do like a training on reflection around feedback, right? And I think that in that training, it was talking about how to receive good feedback and negative feedback. And I feel like I've always been very good at receiving negative feedback because I'm like, yep, give me that feedback. And I ain't never got to be weak in that area again. I'm going to get better and I'm going to get better. But when I get positive feedback, it's always a little cringe. It always feels like, yes, I love affirmations and I want you to tell me the impact I've made on your life. I want you to tell me how I've shown up for you. I want to know that it matters, the things that I'm doing, while at the same time, it sometimes feel a little like, I don't want too much like attention or like or whatever the case may be. And so kind of basically similar to my daughter to a certain degree, but not a certain degree, right? And so I share that to say that I've recognized that that is something that I'm working on in this season, is being able to own the growth that has taken place. Recently, I told my event production manager that in past events, I kind of tried walking up in the middle when I'm going on stage. And I'm like, yeah, I don't like that. It feels like a parade. It feels like I'm waving at everybody. Girl, why am I waving at everybody? Pull me in from the side. I'll just walk on the stage that way. And so, to the point of like where I'm at in this season, I have to get used to being comfortable with not just making the impact and being okay with not getting the credit for the impact, but being okay with walking through the crowd, getting the waves like I'm in the parade because I've actually planted that fruit. I've already done that work. And so I think that's just like the season I'm in. It's like, okay, honey, you're being intentional about what you're doing and you deserve to reap your seeds of fruit while you're here. And you can't just want the affirmation, but then at the same time don't want the affirmation, right? So it was interesting when I was doing that training for work. I was like, oh my God, this is so relevant to my everyday life because if somebody says something to me at work, I'm like, yeah, it's my job. Like, that's what I'm supposed to do. And I think a lot of us have that problem, right? We're raised to be strong, we're raised to do so many things, and everything we do feels like what we're supposed to be doing. But then there's so many people not doing the things that we're doing. So when are we going to feel that we've done enough? Like, when are we going to be content to realize like this is what we've done and actually we're living in our miracles and in our blessings, and actually we deserve to be clapped for, we deserve to clap for ourselves, and it's okay to be recognized, right? It's okay to take up space and have a light be shine on you. And so that's really the season I'm in, and I think it's interesting because I think it's so funny. I talk about my oldest daughter, but to a certain degree I'm working on that same thing. And that's how funny God is that sometimes he puts people in your life that maybe they're not at the stage of which you are now, but to some degree you have parallels with that same thing. And so that's really my season. And I'm looking forward to working through it. As bold as I think I am and as relentless as I am, I think it's important for us to really give ourselves credit and grace for where we actually are before we continue to walk on, because we'll keep walking if we don't recognize that at some point we've passed certain levels that we should be proud of ourselves for.
Of course, I definitely agree with you. And when what you just said just made me think about just you celebrating your wins. You
Yeah.
know, anytime you have an event going on and things like that, and you walk in the middle of that aisle, that's just you saying, you giving yourself that pat on the back. That's your congratulations. That's you celebrating everything that you executed, that you planted, that the foundation that you planted down. It just, it's that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you.
Welcome. What messages do you want women and your children to receive from your sis story?
Yeah, I think that overall, I just want people to recognize that you only have one life. You deserve to really live it as your own. Like, show up in the driver's seat for your life. Recognize that you're not waiting on God. God is waiting on you. Like, there is too much discernment and He is too intentional about the way that things are set up. So, if you have that feeling of the next thing that you're supposed to do, just take that step. Quit worrying about whether or not you have enough money to stand up the whole vision. He wants to know that you'll do it blindly. He wants to know that you'll do it to where you trust him. I think that something that we don't recognize is that it's sometimes so hard to trust people in the flesh that because of that, we don't trust God in the spirit. And if we really want to be able to actualize our lives in the way that we can, we just have to really trust God and to send this. I'm working in my lane, I'm working in my gifts. I may not know how, who, or what, but I know the next thing that I need to do in terms of me starting with what I have in my hand. And when you do that next thing, He will have somebody at that place to get you to the next place that you're supposed to be in, the next spot, the next whatever. And so I think the biggest takeaway is just trust. Trust the season that you're in, trust the calling of your life, trust God, trust yourself, and just keep going.
Absolutely. And that's one thing I take away from what you just said is like I'm always worried and always I'm a perfectionist, so I try to just make sure I get everything right. And even with this, with interviewing people that inspire me and things of that sort, like I make mistakes throughout, this series, but at the same time I do it scared. If I'm afraid, I just do it anyway because I know God has this calling that I don't ever want to turn away from. Even if even if I'm the most exhausted, I don't want to turn away from it because I love it so much and it has a bigger meaning. It has a big impact on the world. It will. I just have a feeling that it will. So that
Absolutely.
really helped me.
I love that. Absolutely. To my point of like the conversations that I have with my daughters, my biggest conversation with her, because she sometimes struggles with perfectionism. And I always tell her, like, the only mistake that you could ever make in life is not trying, is not doing it. It's not failing. It's knowing that there's something that you're supposed to do or could do and choosing not to do because you take a L without earning a L. And so I'm always telling them, like, earn your L's. Stop just taking them, earn them. And because that negative feedback that I told you I love receiving, like I'm gonna take my L, even if I have to tell myself that, hey, I can move to another city. I can find another job. Like whatever extreme you have to give yourself to talk yourself into doing what it is you know you're supposed to do, the worst thing you could do for yourself is to not do something that you know you were called to do because you won't know if it could work out if you don't actually try to do it. And I always tell people that only people who will have something negative to say about you is the people that never try. Anyone who tries knows that feeling of fear and doing it anyways. Anyone who's ever tried know the ability to have that feeling and not know how they're going to get to the end of the staircase. So they're going to guide you. The only people that's going to say something negative are the people that are not even going after their dreams. And if you're worried about those people in terms of what stops you, then that's a bigger problem.
Exactly. I definitely agree with you on that. I'm definitely working on that amongst myself. Like this is just the beginning and I will get better in time. And, yeah, and I will look back at it, look back at all the projects that I've done and I'm like, okay, I mean, the evolution is here. Like I'm really proud of myself and just appreciate every season that I was in
Yeah.
during the time that I was, doing my projects and things of that sort. Thank you so much for those beautiful words of encouragement. Lastly, please let people know again where to follow you, where to watch your content, how to support you and your upcoming events. Let us know all the things.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely come follow me on Instagram at It's Human AF. That's ITS Human HUMAN AF. And because we are human AF, I think that, people who like hear my brand name, sometimes people will reach out to me like, I decided to follow you because your name is so interesting. And I'm like, well, yeah, because we are human AF. And I think that for me, just kind of going through life, you recognize like duality exists. Everything is going to go right and wrong at the exact same time. That's just how the world works. And so just recognizing that you can allow yourself to just humanize yourself, allow yourself to just be and recognize that we're all learning. So absolutely follow me at It's Human AF on Instagram. You can also find me on YouTube. I have some podcast episodes on video there. But if you're looking for just podcast entertainment, conversations, real things, all the things, you could just search It's the Human Experience. That's my audio podcast. I think I have like 98 episodes on there. That's really helpful when we talk about fear, when we talk about the realities of life, when it talks about rest, all the things. Follow me there. And if it's on your heart to come to London, you can come with us to London in October. We're doing a retreat and a conference. You can choose either or both, right? And so the retreat's just for 12 women. I think I have 7 spots left for the retreat. And then for the actual conference, it's in Piccadilly. Piccadilly Circus is what it's called in London. And so that's like the Times Square of London, if you will. And it holds about 120 people for that one. It's a day event that we're going to talk about health, wealth. We have physicians, we have Go High Level, which is like a CRM company, really helping us put everything into one space. Because from an entrepreneurial perspective, a lot of us has like one place that we go to for subscriptions, for email marketing, for our courses, for our calendars. And so they help save my life by just bringing everything into one space. And so as a result, I have them to be a part of the event as well. And so just come, know that it's going to be really good conversation with licensed, trained thought leaders who will really help to change your life. And so if you don't want to come to London and come out the States, know that we'll be back in the US towards the end of the year and then again into next year. So just keep showing up for yourself. That's the best thing you can do.
Yes, everyone, make sure you follow Mrs. Hazel Brown. Thank you so much for doing this today and being with me and sharing your story. And thank you for those beautiful words of encouragement. I'm pretty sure so many people need it. I know I need it.
You're welcome. Absolutely. Thank you, Ebony.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I'll see you next time. Make sure you tune in. And women, make sure that you are making your sister recount.